I have been a part of college campus for quite a long time. 10 years in fact. For 5 years I was an undergraduate at IIT Bombay, and for 5 years I was pursuing and eventually completed my PhD at University of California. One common theme that I had noticed among students in both of these colleges is that there is a lot of fear. When I say fear, I mean psychological fear. Fear of failing, fear of not doing well enough, fear of not landing a job, etc. etc. Conventionally, we would expect that with material security, there would also come a loss of fear, psychological fear. But in practice, we do not see such a scenario. So, could you shed some light on the relationship between material security on one hand and psychological fear on the other hand?
Anupam, it does not quite matter if we just look at it in a commonsensical way. Whether the stuff held by you is of the lowest kind, an intermediate kind, or of the highest kind and quality. Stuff is stuff. And all stuff comes from somewhere, comes to somebody, and is always vulnerable to loss. So therefore, it is not surprising at all that even if the stuff that one has is of the highest sophistication and quality, it would still remain vulnerable to disappearance, theft, redundancy, obsolescence. And when there is this kind of vulnerability, where is security? Therefore, be it an ordinary person holding his common goods close to his chest, or a highly learned and qualified scholar from a premier institution, stuff is stuff. What you have is not entirely yours, and you cannot quite fully depend on it. Therefore, there is fear. When you said that you come from highly esteemed institutions like IIT Bombay and the other US university you did your master's from, and your PhD from, and you still perceived fear in the air, your hypothesis probably was that if one is coming from high centers of learning, then fear is not to be expected in the minds of the people, students, scholars, academicians. That hypothesis needs to be investigated. You might have the highest quality of knowledge, but knowledge is knowledge. In a very fundamental sense, knowledge that a person holds is not very different from this hand towel that I hold. It can be dropped anytime, it can betray you anytime. It is not something that has timelessness. And where there is no timelessness, there is bound to be fear.
Namaskar, Acharya ji. My first question of discussion today is, can you please briefly describe us what is this fearless authenticity, so that we can go ahead with the concepts and ideas in this?
Actually, the topic of this discussion, fearless authenticity, carries redundancy. But you know, as it goes with public events and meetings, one inflates a bit. There is a little bit of hyping up involved. We could have simply said fearlessness, or we could have said authenticity, and that would have sufficed. Fearless authenticity is like an extra emphasis, an added highlight. Only in authenticity is there fearlessness. And you cannot have fearlessness without authenticity. If you are not what you really are, there would be fear, and the presence of fear is a clear indicator that one is carrying stuff, identity, ideology, concepts that are not quite real. But of these two, fearlessness and authenticity, the one available to being tested or verified is merely fearlessness. Authenticity is something unknowable, unseen, not directly perceptible. Therefore, if you want to know whether you are living authentically, the only way to check is whether you have fear. Check whether there is fear, and if there is fear, then authenticity is still waiting.
Kind of have the same question as that woman had, but I think your explanation was quite explanatory, but I still have some confusion, and so maybe the question regarding the possibility of fear in authenticity. So maybe the way I'm understanding this, if I say ask you, maybe that will help you clear my confusion. So an authentic person would still want things, right? I could imagine an authentic person living his life, and I think in wanting things, wanting something to happen. So for example, if I have some project that I believe if this works out, it will omit the suffering of thousands of people, and that is something that I believe is just and right, and I would like that to happen. So I think an authentic person would still want things, right? But if when somebody wants something, you are saying that this could happen and it could not happen, and you are saying that one of these alternatives is in itself good and the other is bad, and I don't know which will happen. So in some sense, I could still have a fear of something bad happening, right? So I don't understand how an authentic person could not fear something.
What he is saying is, even if you are authentic, can't you want things? Won't you relate with people and want stuff for them? And if you will want things, then fear obviously will come along with the want. So how is it that the authentic person will have no fear? The authentic person will have no fear for himself. Are you getting it? Our fears are all for, in general, our fears are all for ourselves. Something wrong may happen to me. Very self-centered fears we have. So what you are saying will actually take you to the words of the sages. And they have very clearly said that one fear you must never lose. And in their words, they say it is the fear of Ram. And if you have that fear, then that fear will liberate you of all the other worldly fears. Are you getting it? So that is the only fear that you must keep. But then that is an impersonal fear. Therefore, it cannot even be called as fear in the general sense in which we use the word. Are you getting it? That is a fear of a different dimension. In general, we fear that we may lose something. In general, we fear that the way we are might cease to exist one day. That's the fear. What if I am no more? That's the general kind of fear. That's the general description of the common fear. The fear that finally remains, that fear says, what if I continue to be the way I am? And that is an exceptional fear. So you are very right that even an authentic person may carry that last fear. But then you cannot imagine what that fear would be like. You started off by saying that you can imagine an authentic person doing this, doing that. No, don't trust your imagination so much. Certain things are beyond imagination. Imagination is a very little thing depending on the capacity of mind, knowledge, experiences and such things. Imagination can capture very little. We cannot even imagine a fifth dimension. You cannot even imagine somebody talking in French if you do not know French, or can you? So imagination has its very small boundaries. So do not try to imagine what the beyond is like. The beyond is not available to imagination. But still, the question that you raised was very valid.
Good evening, sir. My question is, how can we cultivate authenticity in our day-to-day life?
Oh, you cannot cultivate authenticity. No. Authenticity is your core. It is not something in the world that you can obtain and add to yourself. It is not something that you can grow, develop, process or cultivate. Therefore, when you talk of being authentic, the process has to be very negative. It has to be a process in reduction, which means you have to drop all that which is inauthentic. And it's seriously good fun. Looking at yourself, figuring out that which is just fake, and seeing that associating with your own fakeness does not really help you too much. Once you come to this conclusion, the fakeness has to drop, because fakeness does not stick to us on its own. We hold it, we clutch it. We clutch it in the false hope that fakeness is really giving us some value. When you inquire, when you honestly want to question whether stuff that is fake and inauthentic is actually delivering you value, then there is only one conclusion: no. And after that big and resounding no, there is no incentive left for you to keep clutching the fakeness. It just opens. Stuff drops. What you are left with is authenticity. Authenticity is the remnant. It is the residue. Right? When all that can be dropped is gone, then that which is left is the genuine you, the authentic self. The process involves challenging oneself. Keep challenging yourself. Keep asking yourself, is that me? Or is it something that I have learned, acquired? Is that me, or is it just my hormones? And if it's your hormones, then you very well know that hormones don't last. Is that me, or is that just the situations and some provocations? If it's just the situations and provocations, then you know that these things will pass. And if they will pass, why are you allowing them to mean so much to you?
what if the thing that scares us the most means that leaving out all of the norms?
You are scared of your own greatness, your own power.
Right, so how can we come up with that?
By seeing that your littlenesses are not doing you any good. We are merely habituated to our current patterns. We don't love them. See where your love lies. There is a difference between being attached to something due to habit and being attracted to something due to love. Most of that which is present in our life is due to habit. And that habit need not necessarily belong to the last 20 years of your life. We are carrying millions of years old habits in this body. This body itself is a habit. It's a bundle of habits. It compels us to live in certain ways. And because we live in certain ways, in those ways, we think that those ways are us. No, those ways are not us. Probe the depths of your mind and you will find that you love something entirely different. And when when your love will be bigger than the force of habit, the inertia of habit, then you will break free.